Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen and enjoy my stories every day. The office is silent but for the low hum of the air conditioner and the occasional rustle of papers. I'm staring at the polished mahogany desk that was once a symbol of my authority, now a cruel reminder of the deceit that's unraveling my life. My hands clutch a folder that was supposed to hold important financial reports. Instead, it now holds a secret that has the power to destroy everything. I glance at the clock, 9:45 a.m. I should be on a plane to Seattle, but a hunch compelled me to cut my business trip short. My wife, Melanie, knows I'm supposed to be away for a week. The empty office is filled with the echo of the decision I've just made. The quiet is almost too perfect. I should have been landing at Seattle-Tacoma by now, but instead, here I am. The door to the office opens, and Melanie walks in. Her heels click rhythmically against the marble floor. She's dressed impeccably in a deep red dress that clings to her curves. It's the kind of dress that always made me proud to be seen with her. She stops abruptly when she sees me, her eyes widening with a mix of surprise and dread. "What are you doing here?" she asks, her voice a forced whisper, though I can see the tension in her shoulders. "I decided to come back early," I reply, forcing a calm I don't feel. "Thought I'd surprise you." She doesn't respond immediately, her gaze darting around the room as if searching for an escape route. "I see," she says finally, her tone too calm to be genuine. "What's the matter?" "Nothing's the matter. I pause, then continue with deliberate slowness, "I wanted to see how you're doing." Her smile is brittle, and she moves to pour herself a drink from the mini bar. "It's a nice surprise, really. I didn't expect to see you until next week." "I thought you'd be excited to see me," I say, my eyes narrowing slightly. "Maybe you had other plans?" She glances at me, a flicker of something in her eyes, panic, perhaps. "Plans? No, of course not. Just work and a few errands." I can't help but notice the way she shifts her gaze to the side, the way her fingers tremble slightly as she handles the glass. My heart pounds as I piece together the fragments of the puzzle. I know Melanie well enough to recognize when she's hiding something. And this time, the stakes are too high. "Why don't we talk about it over lunch?" I suggest, trying to keep my tone light. "I'm starving and I'm sure you are too." Melanie hesitates, then nods. "Sure. Let me just finish up here." I watch as she busies herself with the drink, trying to mask her nerves. I can feel the tension in the room thickening. Something's wrong, and I'm determined to find out what. As we walk out of the office together, I can't shake the feeling that we're heading straight into a trap. I catch her glancing at her phone with an uneasy expression. My suspicions are only growing stronger. We take the elevator down to the parking garage in silence, the hum of the descending lift amplifying the weight of the unspoken truth. The car ride to the restaurant is filled with an uncomfortable quiet. Melanie keeps glancing at me, her fingers drumming nervously on her knee. I can't help but wonder what she's hiding, and why she's so desperate to keep it a secret. Finally, we arrive at a quaint little bistro. It's the kind of place where people go to discuss intimate matters. Melanie seems to relax a bit as we enter, but I'm on edge. We sit at a secluded table in the back, the kind that's partially obscured by a large potted plant. The waiter takes our orders and leaves us alone. Melanie tries to engage in small talk, but her attempts fall flat. I can see her nerves fraying. It's almost as if she's bracing herself for something she knows is coming. "Melanie," I begin, leaning in slightly, "I want to know what's going on. Why did you seem so unsettled when I came back?" She looks up at me, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and resignation. There's something I need to tell you." My pulse quickens. "What is it?" Before she can respond, her phone buzzes on the table. She picks it up, her face paling as she reads the message. She stammers, but her words are cut short as her phone buzzes again. "Who's that?" I ask, trying to keep my voice steady. It's nothing, she says quickly, stuffing the phone into her purse. Just work. I'm about to press her further when the waiter arrives with our food. Melanie seems to use the interruption as a chance to regain her composure, but I can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. As we eat in strained silence, I keep my eyes on her, trying to piece together the clues. My mind races through possibilities, and I can't help but think of the business trip I just cut short. What if the real reason Melanie was so anxious to keep me away was not just about work but something far more personal? By the time we finish, I'm more convinced than ever that something is going on. Melanie's evasiveness is a clear sign of something deeply troubling. As we drive back, I keep my gaze on the road, feeling the weight of the impending revelation pressing down on me. When we reach home, Melanie attempts to act normal, but the facade is slipping. I can see it in the way she avoids my eyes, in the way her hands tremble. Melanie, I say, as we stand at the threshold of the house, I need the truth. Whatever it is, I need you to tell me now. Her shoulders slump, and she looks at me with a mixture of sadness and defeat. You're right. There's something I've been hiding. Something I should have told you a long time ago. My heart pounds in my chest. What is it? Before she can answer, a car door slams outside, and Melanie's expression turns to one of pure panic. I follow her gaze and see a familiar face approaching the house, a face I recognize from the photos I've seen. It's her lover, and he's coming straight for us. Melanie's eyes dart to mine, and I can see the fear in them. She takes a deep breath, as if steeling herself for what's to come. I'm sorry, she finally whispers. I never wanted you to find out this way. But it's too late now. As the door swings open, I brace myself for the confrontation that's about to unfold. The truth is finally coming to light, and with it, the end of the life I thought I knew. The door creaks open, and the familiar face of Melanie's lover, Robert, fills the doorway. He's a tall man with an athletic build, dressed in a casual button-down shirt and jeans that look far too expensive for someone who's supposed to be just a friend. His eyes lock onto mine with a mix of surprise and irritation, and I can see the uncomfortable shift in his posture as he takes in the scene. What's going on here, Melanie? Robert's voice is sharp, almost demanding, as he steps inside, his gaze flicking between Melanie and me. Melanie's face turns a deep shade of crimson. Robert, this is... Don't, I cut her off, my voice firm. Let's just hear what you have to say. Robert's eyes narrow, and he takes a step closer. Who's this guy? This is my husband, Jason, Melanie says, her voice trembling. Jason, this is Robert. He's the one you've been seeing behind my back, I finish for her, my voice cold. The one you've been lying to me about. Robert looks at Melanie, confusion and anger flickering across his face. You're married? Yes, Melanie replies, her voice barely above a whisper. I should have told you sooner. I take a deep breath, trying to keep my composure. So, Robert, now that you're here, what's your role in this little drama? Robert shifts uncomfortably, running a hand through his hair. Look, I didn't know about you. Melanie said she was separated. I thought I was just helping a friend. A bitter laugh escapes me. Helping a friend, huh? That's a nice way to put it. Melanie moves between us, her hands outstretched as if trying to prevent an imminent confrontation. Jason, please. Let's just talk about this calmly. Calmly? I nearly shout, my voice echoing off the walls. You've been deceiving me, and now you want to talk calmly. I can see the desperation in Melanie's eyes. She takes a step towards me. Jason, I never meant for any of this to happen. Save it, I interrupt. I'm done with the excuses. The tension in the room is palpable. Robert's face is a mask of irritation mixed with guilt. He looks at Melanie with a frown. Is this really how you wanted this to end? I didn't want this at all, Melanie says, her voice cracking. But it's out now. We have to deal with it. I turn away from them, my mind racing. I feel a mix of anger, betrayal, and an odd sense of liberation. My eyes fall on the framed pictures of Melanie and me on the mantel, a cruel reminder of the life we once shared. I'm about to speak when the doorbell rings, and we all freeze. Who else could that be? Robert mutters, his frustration evident. Melanie's face pales. It might be. It could be my sister. Your sister? I ask, raising an eyebrow. Yes, she replies, her voice shaky. She's been helping me with some things. I'm not sticking around for this, Robert says, heading towards the door. You deal with this. I'm out. He gives Melanie a lingering look of disappointment before pushing past me and leaving the house. I hear the sound of his car engine starting up, growing fainter as he drives away. Melanie walks to the door, her face a mask of nervous anticipation. She opens it, and there stands her sister, Laura, holding a bag of groceries and looking visibly confused. Laura, Melanie says, trying to put on a brave face. What are you doing here? Laura's eyes dart around the room, taking in the scene with wide-eyed concern. I just came to drop off some things. What's going on? This is Jason, Melanie says, her voice strained. My husband. Laura's gaze shifts to me, then back to Melanie, her confusion growing. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. It's okay, I say, forcing a calmness I don't feel. We're just having a bit of a family discussion. Laura nods slowly, though it's clear she's not entirely convinced. I can come back later if this isn't a good time. No, Melanie says quickly. Stay. We need to clear the air. Laura steps inside, placing the bag of groceries on the counter. She looks between Melanie and me, her expression a mix of sympathy and curiosity. What happened? Melanie hesitates, then takes a deep breath. Jason found out about Robert. Everything's come to light. Laura's eyes widen. Oh, Melanie. I'm so sorry. I watch as Melanie's face crumples into a pained expression. She moves to sit on the couch, burying her face in her hands. I didn't know how to tell you, Jason. I was trying to figure out how to fix things. Laura sits beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. You should have told him sooner. I know, Melanie says through her tears. But I didn't know how. I feel a pang of guilt seeing Melanie so distraught, but the anger and betrayal I feel are stronger. I move to the chair opposite them, trying to compose myself. Laura, maybe you should give us some time alone, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. I need to talk to Melanie. Laura nods, giving Melanie a reassuring squeeze before rising to leave. I'll give you some space. If you need anything, you know where to find me. As the door closes behind Laura, Melanie's sobs fill the silence. I sit across from her, struggling to find the words to express the storm of emotions inside me. Jason, Melanie says between sobs, I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake. You think? I reply, my voice cold. What were you thinking, Melanie? Did you ever consider how much this would hurt me? I didn't think it would come to this, Melanie says, looking up at me with tear-streaked cheeks. I thought I could keep everything under control. I shake my head, feeling a mix of anger and resignation. You've shattered everything, Melanie. Our marriage, our trust, everything. I know, she whispers, her voice barely audible. But I'm willing to make amends. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Fix it? I repeat, disbelief clear in my voice. What can you possibly do to fix this? She looks at me with a desperate plea in her eyes. Please, Jason. Let's not end it like this. We can. No, I cut her off. It's too late for that. I need time to think. With that, I stand up, feeling the weight of the betrayal heavy on my shoulders. Melanie's please follow me as I walk out the door, leaving her alone with her regrets. As I step into the cool evening air, I realize that this is just the beginning of a long and painful journey. The world I thought I knew is gone, and I'm left to pick up the pieces of a shattered life. The street outside is quiet, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions brewing inside me. I walk aimlessly, my mind replaying the events of the evening like a broken record. Melanie's tearful pleas echo in my head, but I can't shake the betrayal. I need to think clearly, away from the chaos of the house. I make my way to a nearby park, a place where I used to come to unwind. The park is deserted this time of night, the only sound the rustling of leaves in the breeze. I sit on a bench, trying to gather my thoughts. The cool air is a small relief, but it does little to calm the turmoil within. My phone buzzes in my pocket, and I pull it out to see a message from Laura. I'm worried about Melanie. She's not herself. Please, if you can, check on her. I sigh, the guilt weighing heavily on me. As much as I want to distance myself from the pain, Laura's message tugs at my conscience. I type a quick reply, I'll go back. Thanks for letting me know. I head back to the house, the anger I felt earlier slowly giving way to concern. When I arrive, the lights are still on, casting an eerie glow on the quiet street. I unlock the door and step inside, the familiar scent of our home greeting me, now tainted by the recent revelation. I find Melanie sitting at the kitchen table, her head in her hands. The once pristine kitchen is now a mess of empty wine glasses and tissues. She looks up as I enter, her eyes red and swollen. Jason, she says, her voice hoarse. I didn't think you'd come back. I take a deep breath, trying to maintain my composure. Laura was worried about you. I wanted to make sure you're okay. I'm not okay, Melanie replies, her voice breaking. I'm a mess. I don't even know where to start fixing this. I sit down at the table across from her, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. How did it all go so wrong, Melanie? We were supposed to be a team. I know, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. It just happened. Robert and I, we started as friends. Things got complicated, and I didn't know how to stop it. Complicated? I ask, my voice edged with bitterness. You mean you fell in love with someone else while you were still married to me? No, she exclaims, her eyes wide with desperation. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. I never meant to hurt you. I shake my head, feeling a mix of anger and resignation. It's too late for apologies, Melanie. The damage is done. What do you expect me to do now? She looks at me, her eyes pleading. I don't know. I want to make things right. I want to fix this. Before I can respond, the doorbell rings again, and Melanie's face pales. Not again, she mutters, clearly overwhelmed. It's probably Robert. I rise from my seat, heading towards the door. As I open it, I'm surprised to see Laura standing there, her face etched with concern. Laura? I ask, my voice tinged with confusion. What are you doing here? I'm sorry, Laura says, stepping inside. I forgot something and wanted to make sure Melanie's all right. She seemed so upset. She is, I reply, stepping aside to let her in. She's really not handling this well. Laura nods, glancing towards the kitchen. I'll go talk to her. Maybe she needs a friend. As Laura heads towards the kitchen, I sit down on the couch, my mind racing. I hear muffled voices from the kitchen, a mix of Melanie's sobs and Laura's comforting tones. I try to focus on what needs to be done next, but my thoughts keep drifting back to Robert. I need to confront him. I need answers. The way he left, so abruptly, makes me suspect that there's more to the story. I grab my phone and search for his contact information. After a few moments, I find his number and dial it, my heart pounding as it rings. Hello. Robert's voice is wary, almost resigned. It's Jason, I say, trying to keep my tone steady. We need to talk. There's a pause on the other end. Jason, I. Save it, I cut him off. Meet me at the cafe on 5th and Main. I need to understand what happened. I can't right now, Robert replies. Now, I insist. If you don't show up, I'll come to you. There's a heavy sigh. Fine. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hang up, feeling a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. I know this confrontation won't be easy, but it's necessary. I need to understand the full scope of the betrayal, and Robert might hold the key to that. As I prepare to leave, Melanie and Laura come out of the kitchen. Melanie's face is still tear-streaked, but she looks somewhat composed, thanks to Laura's support. Jason, Melanie says, her voice trembling. Where are you going? I need to meet Robert, I reply, my voice firm. I need answers. Be careful, Melanie says, her voice barely above a whisper. He's not the best at handling these things. I'm aware, I reply. But I need to do this. Laura steps forward, her expression a mix of sympathy and concern. Are you sure you want to do this alone? I need to, I say, feeling a surge of determination. I need to face this head on. With that, I head out the door, my mind focused on the upcoming confrontation. As I drive to the cafe, I try to steel myself for what's to come. The cafe on 5th and Main is a small, quiet place, perfect for the kind of discussion I'm about to have. When I arrive, I see Robert sitting at a corner table, nursing a coffee. His posture is tense, and he looks up as I approach. Jason, he says, his voice guarded. Have a seat. I sit down across from him, feeling the weight of the conversation that's about to unfold. Robert, I need to know why you did this. Why did you let it go this far? Robert takes a deep breath, his eyes meeting mine. Look, I didn't plan any of this. Melanie and I started as friends, but things got complicated. She said she was separated, and I. Separated? I interrupt. She was still married to me. I didn't know that, Robert says, his frustration evident. She told me things were over between you two. I thought I was helping her through a tough time. And you believed her? I ask, my voice incredulous. You didn't question her story? Honestly, I trusted her, Robert admits. I didn't think she'd lie to me. I shake my head, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief. Well, she did. And now everything's fallen apart. Robert looks down at his coffee, clearly uncomfortable. I'm sorry, Jason. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I really didn't. I let out a long sigh, feeling the weight of the situation pressing down on me. I appreciate your apology, but it doesn't change what's happened. It doesn't undo the hurt. Robert nods, his expression one of regret. I understand. I'll stay out of your life from now on. I don't want to make things worse. Good, I reply. That's probably best for everyone. With that, I stand up, feeling the finality of the moment. Robert watches me leave, his expression a mix of relief and sadness. As I head back to my car, I realize that this is just the beginning of a long and painful process. The road ahead is uncertain, but one thing is clear, things will never be the same. The cafe's warm lights dim behind me as I step out into the crisp night air. My conversation with Robert has left me with more questions than answers, but one thing is clear, the path forward is fraught with uncertainty. I head back home, determined to face Melanie and finally get to the bottom of the deception that has torn our lives apart. The house is eerily quiet when I return. Melanie and Laura must have gone to bed, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I find myself in the kitchen, pacing restlessly. My phone buzzes on the counter, and I see a new message from Laura. Melanie's been very agitated since you left. She mentioned something about a second phone. I don't know what that means. A second phone? My mind races as I replay the events of the past few days. Could Melanie have been hiding more than just a relationship with Robert? I remember seeing her phone earlier, and the thought that there might be another device adds a new layer to the mystery. I decide to investigate. I search through the house, looking for any sign of an extra phone. It's not long before I find it, hidden in a drawer in Melanie's closet, wrapped in a cloth. I pick it up, my heart pounding as I turn it on. The screen lights up, and I'm greeted by a lock screen with a picture of Melanie and Robert. My gut twists as I unlock the phone using a simple pattern. The messages are what I feared, texts between Melanie and someone named Jared, discussing plans to meet, locations, and intimate details about their meetings. The messages reveal not just a fling but a deeper deception. Jared is not someone Melanie had mentioned, and the extent of her betrayal is more profound than I had anticipated. Feeling a surge of anger and betrayal, I gather the evidence from both phones, the one I just found and the one Melanie had been using, and head to the living room. Melanie is sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. Laura is next to her, trying to comfort her. Melanie, I say, my voice cutting through the room with cold finality. We need to talk. Melanie looks up, her eyes red and swollen. Jason, I slam the phones down on the coffee table, the sound echoing in the silence. What's this, Melanie? What's going on? Her eyes widen as she looks at the phones. Jason, please, let me explain. I don't want explanations, I say, my voice rising. I want the truth. You've been seeing not just Robert, but someone else too. Who is Jared? Melanie's face goes pale. She glances at Laura, who looks equally shocked and confused. I didn't want to hurt you. Jared is a mistake. It was supposed to be over, but it didn't end. Laura stands up, her face a mixture of anger and disbelief. Melanie, you told me it was just Robert. How could you keep this from me? I didn't know how to tell anyone, Melanie says, her voice breaking. It just got out of hand. I feel a mix of rage and heartbreak. So you were living a double life. Lying to both me and Robert, and hiding another affair. It wasn't meant to be like this, Melanie pleads. I was trying to fix things, to find a way out of this mess. Fix things. I repeat, incredulity lacing my voice. You're beyond fixing things now. You've shattered everything. Melanie's shoulders slump as she begins to cry. I'm sorry, Jason. I never wanted it to end like this. I look at Laura, who is watching Melanie with a mixture of pity and frustration. Laura, thank you for your support. I know you were trying to help. Laura nods, her face set in a firm line. I had no idea it was this bad. I'm sorry, Jason. I turn back to Melanie, feeling a sense of finality settling over me. Melanie, I can't do this anymore. The trust is gone. The love is gone. I need to move on. Melanie's sobs become more intense, but I can see the resignation in her eyes. Jason, please don't do this. I have to, I say, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I need to move on from this. I can't stay in a marriage built on lies. I turn and head towards the door, knowing that walking away is the only way to regain a semblance of control over my shattered life. As I open the door, I hear Melanie's desperate pleas behind me, but I don't look back. I step out into the night, the cool air a stark contrast to the heat of the confrontation I've just had. I drive aimlessly, the streets blurring past me. I don't know where I'm going, but I know I need to get away from everything that reminds me of the betrayal. Hours later, I find myself at a small, quiet beach on the outskirts of town. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore is soothing, and I sit on the sand, staring out at the dark, vast ocean. I think about the future and what comes next. The life I had with Melanie is over, and though it hurts, I know it's time to start anew. The sun starts to rise, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange. As I sit there, watching the dawn break, I feel a sense of closure. The betrayal and heartbreak have been immense, but they've also taught me something about resilience and the importance of honesty. I stand up, feeling a renewed sense of determination. It's time to move on, to rebuild, and to find a path forward. The past may be filled with pain, but the future is open and full of possibilities. As I leave the beach and head towards the new day, I know that the journey ahead won't be easy, but it will be mine to navigate. The chapter with Melanie has ended, but a new chapter in my life is just beginning.